We just got our very first look at the early beta version of Bendy and the Dark Revival. Yes, you guys heard me. We finally got our very first look at the earliest version of Bendy and the Dark Revival. And it's not like we just got one image or two. We've got 14 images to look at today. And all I gotta say is it's pretty interesting. So without further ado, let's just go hop into the video and, of course, talk about this. So I was just chilling on Twitter like I usually do when I kept seeing Bendy Twitter talk about this brand new page and some brand new beta assets for Bendy the Dark Revival, with this tweet being the main one that I saw, thanks to literal Bendy on Twitter. And it was posted on the artstation.com. Artists usually go and talk about their assets and different type of arts that they did. We kind of saw the same thing with Poppy Playtime when it came to concept art and of course artworks that artists did on the related game. But this artist, FOB or Fob, I sadly do not know how to pronounce her name, worked on many different projects, including Showdown Bandit, which we're definitely going to go and talk about since Bendy Dark Revival during its early stages when it was still being developed by Kindly Beast also was working on Showdown Bandit, of course. I already did a whole entire video talking about the drama between Showdown Bandit, and of course we already know the whole drama between Kindly Beast, between, you know, Bendy, and how they of course rebranded to Joey Drew Studio, just all that stuff. But as you guys can of course see, this artist was most likely hired at the time of making Showdown Bandit and of course the early version of Bendy Dark Revival, and that's how we're able to finally go and see these images, along with NDAs also going and expiring. So you could definitely expect to see artists go and share their works and what they originally worked on an early version of games, including Bendy the Dark Revival. So that's what we got here. Without further ado, let's just go and actually look at the very first image here. This is the one, it kind of looks like a regular updated screenshot for Bendy and the Ink Machine, of course. Nothing really crazy here. It's just staircases with some candles, look pretty high quality compared to the ones in Bendy and the Ink Machine. And you can see the textures look also a little bit different here too. But the next image is a lot more interesting. As you guys can of course see, we can see a little bit of the refill stations where you can go and get the power-ups, of course, as you can see in Bendy and the Dark Revival. But you can see a lot more of how the assets and how the models and everything of how the setting was originally supposed to look like. It looked really empty and really like plain and bland. Of course, it looks a little bit updated from Bendy and the Ink Machine, but it still had that kind of look to it. You can see a big poster that says "Joy in work, trust in Joey." Of course, you guys can see in the back it says "Take 5," showing like a Bendy mug. Don't of course know what that means. Most likely it's just saying, you know, to take a break. But then this image here does also look a lot more interesting too. You can see all the different pipes, more of the ink, and it definitely looks like a little mix of how Bendy and Machine did look originally. You can see different like things like Bendy books up here, and it's a whole bunch of things that you're of course find in a studio. I really do love the way this looks. First of all, it's just really cool seeing an early version of this. Of course, I already did a whole video like what, 2 years ago, talking about the beta version of Bendy and how he had a whole beta design, and we saw a whole bunch of different clips and gameplay I'll be showing right now, of course, a little bit of how the earlier versions of Bendy and the Dark Revival kind of looked. But this is of course a lot more early on. As you guys of course see, it looks really different. The next image here, it has most likely I think the upstairs version of that, or the balcony type view. You can see another one of the machines that of course go and get the power-ups with some handprints on it. But in the back you can kind of see this sign, which is also interesting. It's just like an error sign or a caution sign telling you not to usually go there. Have no idea what that's telling you to hide away from, but it's also just there. We can see another image here too, just being a different angle or a different room. Just some of the different lightings and pipes and everything's a little bit more destroyed. Still nothing really crazy to go and, you know, investigate or look more into. The next image here also has like a mouse on it, most likely being just taken as a screenshot. You can see more of the different type of environment, how the lights are going to be reflecting around each corner, including the ink, with the ink looking exactly how it did in Bendy the Ink Machine versus Bendy the Dark Revival's ink, which kind of uses a hint of blue to kind of make it have that type of look that Bendy the Dark Revival has, that the newer Bendy games like Boris Lone Wolf and of course mainly Bendy the Cage is not going to be using. But still, I love Bendy the Dark Revival blue. I personally really do like it. This whole image here, the next one I guess has flowers, and it just shows more different ones of just, I guess, assets of destroyed pipes. But you can even see our very first look at one of the cardboard cutouts of Bendy just being all the way at the end of the hall, all just ruined there. The next image most likely is just the other POV of the other side of it, showing the flower there with the light and also more destroyed stuff, just not really showing as much here too. The next image here too kind of has the same look to it, where it looks like it's the hall, but kind of like a different version of it down below. You can see some of the more different entrance points and just different assets being in use. That's kind of the whole point of this, is to show the beta assets of Bendy the Dark Revival. But this image is, in my opinion, the most interesting and my favorite image of it all. It shows a beta version or a really early version of a Bendy cardboard cutout here. And of course, you can see here, it looks all scratched up or just like it's half done. Either it's all got scratched up by the ink demon, of course, because you can see in the back, it says Bendy and Little Devil Darling. And it also looks all scratched up and worn off too. So it could just be a worn off and scratched up version of it. But I gotta say, I absolutely love the way the cardboard cutout looks. Even you can see the back of it, just with the designs. And I'm pretty sure that's how it does look like in Bendy Dark Revival. So it looks like they just kept the back, but kind of just updated the front. Even though I personally really like that, it would have been really cool to see different variations of the cardboard cutout throughout the game. So it's just really cool just seeing some of them just chilling here. In the next image here, just a different angle of that same room, but just showing some of the halls, more of the ink, and different huge ink pipes just transferring ink around the studio, along with also the ink just being a floating texture, which I found really funny, but it's just kind of just chilling there. But like, hopefully one day we'll be able to actually go and play these images, because like imagine if one day we're actually able to go and get a playable demo, because we know the Meatly's pretty chill on Twitter, and we know they're pretty just open now, talking about and just experimenting and showing fans and kind of just giving fans what they want. So what if one day we actually get to have a playable version of Bendy and the Dark Revival's early beta phases? That would be incredible if it's even out there still. But definitely go and subscribe and stay tuned, because like, we will be doing a video if we get more news on early stuff, and of course all the new news on future Bendy projects, so of course go and subscribe to that. But the next image here is just another angle and another shot for the room, showing a valve pipe and just some other little things around there. Just nothing really much, just literally just a different angle. And this is another interesting image, which is definitely, in my opinion, the second most interesting one, because you can see a fixed and perfect looking Bendy cardboard cutout right next to two doors, which looks like opening up doors for a type of diner or a type of eating in place. Most likely it's a cafeteria for the employees to go and eat, with more of the power-up machines just chilling there and some different type of lighting, just making this all look also just really cool. I really do love it. And for the very last image here, it's just another random shot of a different hallway, but it does have also another really interesting thing besides the mouse just being in the corner, most likely when they went and take the screenshot. Also more of the ink coming out a vent. It definitely looks like it's a vent there. And you can see a door, which is a really interesting looking door. It's like just the way it's just like, it looks like a high security type door, not just a regular one you just open up and hey look, it's just a regular room. This one looks like it's high security or hiding something pretty valuable or either dangerous inside. All I gotta say is that also is a really cool design. I kind of really do like that design of it all. But that's sadly all the images that we do have. If you are interested to see more of the beta and earlier versions of Bendy Dark Revival, this video is definitely going to be a lot more interesting. Of course, it shows you the early version of the Ink Demon and a whole bunch of other clips. But this is so far the earliest version you have ever seen for Bendy Dark Revival. And all I gotta say is I absolutely love it. It looks incredible. Yes, it's like very early on, and it's not like, yes, I do prefer Bendy Dark Revival the way it does look. The game just has a better look to it all, and it's just visually a lot more stunning than this. But this has a type of simple and uncanny look to it all, whereas everything's just empty. It just gives it a whole different feeling. That's why it would be really cool if there was a type of small playable demo of how this would have been like. But still, sadly, that isn't the case. We only have these images, and I'm just really glad we could kind of see a little look of how the early version of Dark Revival would have looked like. But you guys could go and let me know in the comments below, what do you guys do think about all these images? And also, just what do you think about the early version of this all? And would you like to play if you're given the chance? Just let me know all that in the comments below, and don't forget to check out this video here for the latest Bendy news, and of course this video here to see some early beta versions of for Bendy and the Dark Revival.